All right, I am about to hit go live.
All right, you're starting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, here we are. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today is the first in a weekly installment of live videos that Third Sun Solar plans to bring you, ongoing on Thursdays at 11 a.m. So today's webinar is the first in a series. We have our solar consultant, David Zelasko, with us, and he'll be giving you an overview of Solar 101. We'll have plenty of time after his presentation for Q&A. So if you have any questions that you've ever had about solar, going solar, or how the technology works, he would be more than happy to answer those for you. So if you would just drop those down into the comment box below, and we will get to that after the presentation. Also, if you're interested in what David's presenting about today, feel free to message us or drop your email in the comment box below, and we would be happy to send you a copy of this presentation or of an ebook that we have, your guide to going solar, which along with a lot of the content that David is going to present also has checklists and that kind of thing in it, really good for those that are just starting to think about going solar. Like I said, this is the first of many weekly installments, Thursdays at 11. Things you can expect in coming weeks. Solar power and batteries will be our next webinar, next Facebook Live event. We'll also be doing one the following week, solar financing, as well as the remote solar evaluation process. And before I turn it over to David, I'm just going to do a brief overview a little bit about Third Sun Solar. So Third Sun Solar is an Ohio-based company. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. We're a women-owned benefit corporation, and we're mission-driven, and that's part of our benefit corporation. We are mission-driven, and our mission is to accelerate the shift to clean energy. We're recording this on April 2nd, 2020. Many of us are working from home, and despite everything that's going on in the world right now, we do see it as part of our mission to help educate about clean energy, and we're continuing on in that mission. So live webinars and Facebook Lives are going to be part of that moving forward. So that's everything I have to say. Like I said, feel free to drop questions in the comment box below. Drop your email if you want a copy of our ebook. And from there, I will turn it over to David.
Thanks, Caitlin. My name is David Zelasko. I'm a sales consultant with Third Sun Solar, and this summer will be about my 5th year with the Third Sun team. And I work primarily in the Northeast Ohio area, so I'm located just outside of Cleveland right now. But we help and service all the state of Ohio as well. So what I'm going to talk to you about is just the basics of solar, how it all works. So we'll talk a little bit about choosing a trusted partner and the competitive advantages of Third Sun, how solar works, and this is primarily going to be a focus on the residential side, and then our easy steps to solar. So once you are interested in getting a quote, as Caitlin said, if you drop us an email below, we'll be able to work with you and educate you on how solar could work at your house. And then show you a few case studies as well as how solar works with some of our previous customers. So we are Third Sun Solar, and like Caitlin said, this is our 20th year in business. We started out headquartered in Athens, Ohio in the year 2000, and we now have locations and regional employees in the Cleveland area, and Cincinnati, and in Columbus as well. And so what sets us apart is, as you can see from this photo, everything we do is in-house. We have our own crews, we have our own licensed electricians, and so for 20 years, we've really built our reputation on being a construction company first, with a great engineer team behind that. So that ensures quality and is something that has kept a lot of our customers referring their friends and families to us, which is a big part of our business. So this is usually a burning question for people, and does solar work in Ohio? You know, right now it's a beautiful sunny spring day, and every day it's going to keep getting, the days are getting longer and sunnier up until the summer solstice. So it's no lie that we have a lot of overcast sometime in the winter. Some parts of the states can be affected by snow cover. But if you look at this graph here, this is called an irradiance map, and it shows you the amount of sunlight that each part of the country gets. And so Ohio is in the green there, so we get a fair amount of sunlight. And then we always like to compare to the country of Germany. A few years ago, Germany was actually the leading country with solar in the world. So a big percentage of their energy comes from renewables, and they had more solar installed per capacity compared to any other country. And the good news for us in Ohio is Germany gets about 20% less sunlight than we do here. So it works here. It's been working for decades, and we have a lot of customers that are reaping the benefits of that. A brief little history of solar. Solar is not a new technology. It's something that is becoming more mainstream because of economics and motivations to own electricity and to offset the effects of climate change. But it's started in the 19th century. Albert Einstein developed the photovoltaic effect in the early 20th century. And right here in the United States in 1954, the solar cell, which is commonly used throughout the world in photovoltaic panels, was created right here in the US at Bell Labs. And so solar is growing fast. Ever since solar became commercially available, it took about 40 years to have 1 million installations in this country. And then less than 3 years later, the US had 2 million. So we're definitely seeing exponential growth. And a lot of that comes down to affordability and more education. People are understanding how it works these days. So now I'm going to talk about how solar works on the technical side. So this is a standard residential grid-tied system. So a lot of people, when they hear solar, they're thinking about, I'm going completely off-grid, and I won't have to have the utility at all. While we can do that, and we usually do that on the smaller scale, like summer homes or cabins, hunting cabins, the majority, I would say about 99% of our projects are grid-tied systems. And so that means the utility company and surface is still there, but we're using solar as a supplement to that. And so here's a good example. You have your panels on the roof. Sunshine, daylight is being collected by those panels, and that energy is direct current. So the sunlight's energy is direct current, DC, that needs to be converted to alternating current, AC. And that's what we use in our homes and in the grid. And so the solar panels run into an inverter. And this is really where all the magic happens. The inverter conditions that power to AC, and then it is pushed through your loads. So at the time of production, whatever you're consuming, you can use solar first, which is taking less power from the grid, and you're avoiding costs at that time as well. Now, a lot of times in the summer, you have our long summer days, the sun's high in the sky, you can produce more than the home is using. And what will happen then is then that power would go back into the grid, and your utility will install a new meter called bidirectional meter. And that will show power going back into the grid with your meter spinning backwards. It used to be cooler where we could actually see the meter spin backwards, but now the utilities have all gone digital, but it's still being counted and it's getting deducted from your bill. And potentially if you produce more than you take from the utility in that billing period, you can develop a credit too. So from day one, once you flip that switch, that's when the savings begin. And this is how it's done. And then this is the goal. So this is an actual customer's electric bill that has solar. And so you can see here, May through October, they're a net producer of energy. So they are sending more power back to the grid than they used. So that shows up as a credit on their bill. And then that credit can roll over each month. And that can go in, hit, and help affect and lower the bills for some of your winter months too, when our production is not as high. And so this is how we start the process. So if anyone's interested in solar, what we take a look at is your electric bill. So if you want to send us an email, we can get in contact with you, and we'll request an electric bill, see how much energy you're using, and based on your site conditions, we can see how much we can offset. Now, batteries have become increasingly part of the equation. And so over our 20 years, most of our systems were the grid tied like I showed you before, but now there's battery technology that can be added to grid tied systems or installed in conjunction with grid tied systems. And so there's different technologies out there. We are a certified installer for the Tesla Powerwall, but we also offer LG Electronics has a battery as well. And so instead of sending your excess power to the grid, you can send it to your battery and it can be stored later at a later time. And so the batteries these days, they do two things. They can act similar to like a backup generator. So if the grid were to go down, your solar can produce and charge the battery, and the battery can back up specific critical loads on your house. So that's for more emergency backup. But then also these batteries allow you to be more self-sufficient and consume more of your solar energy instead of sending that excess always to the grid. And so as the sun's coming down and your battery's full, normally you'd switch the grid power, but specific loads, depending on what is set up by the Powerwall, can be used even into the evening. So you're lessening your reliance on the grid while still be connected. And we can walk you through, if this makes sense for you, we can walk you through what loads you'd like backed up in a power outage and in this scenario, and everyone's different. So that's where our consultative approach will matter. So why do people go solar? There's multiple reasons here we have listed. A big reason why Third Sun got into this industry, while a lot of myself and a lot of our employees are working in solar, is because of the environmental impact. And so right now, about a third of our carbon and greenhouse gas emissions are coming from the energy sector in this country. And so that is because we're taking our power from fossil fuels. Dirty energy like natural gas and coal-powered plants are affecting our climate, as well as pollution and clean air and clean water have been affected as well. And so that's a big part and a big motivation for our customers, is lowering their carbon footprints. I'm curious as well, how many people out there have an electric vehicle or have a plug-in hybrid car? Because another 30% of our carbon and greenhouse gas emissions come from the transportation sector in this country. And so pairing electric vehicles and solar is a great way to lower emissions on the transportation side as well as on the electrical side. So that is a big motivation for people going solar these days. Another one is saving on your electric bill. Every month you have a bill that comes into the mail, and you are expected to pay that. And if you don't, they can turn off your power. And right now you have no control over that. So allowing yourself to own your power as opposed to renting it like you do currently gives you more freedom on economic side and allows you to save money right off the bat. And so a majority of our customers, they can see about a 50 to about 100% decrease in their electric bills by switching to solar. Another great incentive of going solar is increase in property value. So this can vary by area, but there's a lot of great studies that say that anytime you can lower the utility costs of your home, that adds property value to the next buyer. And so solar is going to lower that cost. And even some areas, there's a great Zillow study that came out that shows about a 4% increase in property value because of going solar. And then there's also available incentives, and we can get into that down the road as well. So the incentives are, right now, there is a federal tax credit available. And so right now it's 26%, and that is good until the end of the year. And so that's 26% of the total cost of the system. And if you go solar next year, it goes down to 22%. So we're seeing a big increase in demand these last few years as that tax credit was scheduled to decrease. So when you get an estimate from us, we'll provide you the total costs of going solar. Everything we do is turnkey, so we take care of all the permitting and installation and coordination with the utility, and then we'll show you what the value of that tax credit would be. We are solar experts, so I would take that proposal to your tax accountant or CPA and see how that would affect you. And then also in Ohio, we have net metering. So that is when I showed the grid tied graph that shows if you're sending excess power back into the grid, that's reducing your bill, spinning the meter backwards, and you could potentially get a credit for that. That is the process of net metering. So every utility is different. Ohio has public utilities like AEP, Duke Energy, First Energy, but we also have some municipalities that run their own electric grids, as well as rural co-ops. And so working with us, we have experience with a lot of them. We've done over 1,000 installations. And so we know how each utility operates. And so those net metering rules can vary based on your utility. There's also another incentive called SRECs, Solar Renewable Energy Certificates. And so those are based off of how much energy that you produce. And they vary in value these days. So when we work with you on a proposal, we'll be able to explain to you how these work and how this could also add some more savings to you as well. And depending on where you are, there could be local incentives available as well. So when we look at a site for solar, there's a lot of variables. And the first is we look at what direction is your roof facing. And so we're in the northern hemisphere, so the sun tracks through the south, and it rises in the east, sets in the west. So we want to make sure that you have a good orientation and that your site gets a lot of exposure to the sun. And so ideally, a south-facing roof, that is going to allow you to produce as much solar as possible. And so that is ideal. That's going to be the great situation. But we can also do east and west. So we have a lot of systems that are east and west facing, the southeast, southwest. We can work with you there, but we will take that into consideration when we calculate the production. So we look at the direction the roof is facing, the pitch of the roof, and that's going to give us the data and give you the information you need to say, okay, this is how much I can offset my electric bill based off my roof. And what we also take into account is your zip code. So we work throughout the whole state. There's small variances in where you're located and how much solar you can achieve. And so we use governmental data, has about 30 years of climate data for each zip code that shows how much sun hours you get a day on average throughout the year, as well as how snow and other soiling factors can affect your production as well. So that is how solar works in a nutshell. And it's important to note that solar is not a one-size-fits-all. There's a lot of variables to how you're building your property set up. We can put them on the rooftop, we can put them on the ground. And so we're going to look and talk to each individual and see how that's going to be affected for them. So how we start now is we do a general assessment. Someone like myself and our two other consultants will work with you to and ask questions about what motivated you to go solar, talk about your property as well, what direction is your roof facing, and also review your electric bill. And so this is very important where our experience comes in handy, is that we can look at that bill, explain things and how the charges are affecting you and how solar will change that as well. So that's our initial assessment. Then we get into the design and saying, okay, we're going to use this roof. This is a good site for solar. And we'll show how many panels can fit on the roof. And fortunately, on the software side, we can do a lot of this remotely, especially during these uncertain times with the coronavirus. We are all working from home, but have a lot of experience doing these assessments remotely and working with you so that we can all practice a good social distancing. So once you see a design, we go through how much you can offset, how much savings you'd expect. We can also go through financing options as well. And then when you're ready to move forward, you get an agreement and we start all the pre-permitting and pre-construction work for your system. And so, as I mentioned earlier, right now is a great time to go solar. A combination of reduced prices and increasing of electric rates are really getting more and more people interested. And a big thing we're seeing is more people know others that have gone solar. So solar has a contagion factor, whether it's a neighbor in your development or a friend or a family member. That is the biggest way that we're accelerating the installations of solar here. And so right now, as I mentioned, the tax credit is scheduled to ramp down. And so it's been 30% for the last couple of years, and now it's 26%, and then next year it'll be 22%, and then in 2022, homeowners will not have a tax credit anymore. And now I'll show you some examples of some of our customers here. So this is around an average size system on the residential side. This is in the Cleveland area. So These 23 panels, they are facing south with very minimal shade impact. And so we took their electric bill, saw how much we can reduce, and believe this one reduces about 75% of their annual usage, and just over $5,000 in lifetime savings. And so when we talk about lifetime savings, we usually we're using about 30 years. And so that's pretty fantastic. Not a lot of appliances or equipment in the house can last that long. But solar, and with the manufacturers that you work with, you can get 25-year warranties on the panel. And so they are designed to last very long. And so as you can see, over 50 grand in savings over that lifetime of this system, that's pretty fantastic. So a lot of customers, if they have the land and are in more of a rural area, may not have a good rooftop for solar. Maybe their roof has a lot of trees and a lot of shade, some skylights, and it makes it not a good site for it. So we can also do ground-mounted arrays. So we can put them in the ground in the field, and we'll secure them so that they are withstanding the elements and wind structure. So they are installed in concrete blocks in the ground to make sure that they stand and can last for decades. And so we do a lot of these, and this example here is a bigger system. There's a couple arrays to this system here, but a system this size can generate $125,000 in 30 years of lifetime savings. So it's definitely something that pays for itself and is cheaper than current electricity over time. Another system here as well, a great south-facing roof here in Cincinnati. And so as you can see, roofs come in different shapes and sizes. And so we can work with that and making sure that we're meeting everything to code, avoiding any obstructions like skylights, and keeping them out of shaded areas. So Third Sun Solar also operates on the non-residential side. So we've done installations for a number of for-profit companies, nonprofits, as well as schools, municipalities, universities. So about 50% of our projects are commercial, and the other 50% are about residential. And here are some popular systems of ours. If you're ever driving on 70 east or west in Springfield, you'll pass Assurance. They have carports that can shade the cars in the parking lot, as well as solar on the rooftop as well. Wayne National Forest down in southeast Ohio, that has an array that we built several years ago. And then in Delaware County, we worked with Stratford Ecological Center. So they're a great educational center that teaches about ecology, and we have a system up there that is covering about 85 to 90% of their needs. And so, again, we've been around for 20 years, and this quote here is what has sustained us. When you work with Third Sun, you have great experience on the technical side, but also our customer service is fantastic and is always being applauded by our customers. So again, you'll work with everyone from Third Sun, will be our own employees, and a big part of our business is referrals. So if you know someone who wasn't able to make this webinar, if they're interested in solar, we'll take a very consultative approach and asking questions, finding out what your motivation is, and also seeing how solar can be helpful on your side as well. So that's about it. Appreciate everyone's time, and if there's any questions out there, happy to answer them.
Hey, David. So I am moderating the Facebook comments right now, and we do not have any comments from any of the viewers that are watching right now, but I would encourage them, if you're watching, if you have any questions for David, he'd be more than happy to answer them right now. I'm going to go ahead and ask a few questions. That these are common questions we get from the folks that that call in and are just curious, just starting their solar journey. My first question is, what do you do about snow on the panels? What happens when there's a snowstorm and there's snow on your solar panels?
Yeah, that's a great question. And like I said, I'm up in our Cleveland area, so we get hit with that a little bit more than other places in the state. And so we don't recommend going up there and cleaning off any of the panels yourself. Solar is a very maintenance-free technology. There's no moving parts. And getting on a ladder in the midst of a blizzard or in an icy winter is not going to be the safe thing for you. So depending on when it snows and that time of day and the temperature, the snow can melt off the panels quicker than your shingles. And so when the temperature decreases, in electrical terms, voltage increases, and so they can melt off. But again, that depends on the time of day and the temperature outside.
Awesome. Thanks, David. All right, we've got one question. Is it true that we can go solar for $0 down?
Yes, that is true. And I think we are doing another webinar on the financing aspects of solar, but yeah, we partner with a company that can take you $0 down. So your payments don't start until the system's installed, and there's different terms that we can work with you over different periods of time. So it's a great opportunity for people that don't want to put down initial capital. And the company that we work with is also a B Corp. They're called Mosaic. And so we're pretty pleased and proud to work with them.
Awesome. Yeah, it is important for us to have different benefit corporations in the different parts of our supply chain.
Yeah, and we also, our CEO, Michelle Greenfield, is on the board of the Clean Energy Credit Union. So she brought her expertise and helped in the formation of that, where it's a credit union, there's no brick and mortar, and it's all digital, where you can get loans for electric vehicles, energy efficient upgrades in your house, as well as financing solar. So we've had a customer go through the credit union, and it's good to know that all deposits, checking accounts, savings accounts in that credit union are going towards clean energy. So it's a fantastic organization, and that's something we could also help if people were interested as well.
Awesome. Another question when I am on the phones at the office that I hear a lot, what if I need to replace my roof? Do we take the panels off and put them back on, or what kind of guidance would you give someone who's contemplating a re-roof?
Yeah, so that's an important question in our assessment. So on our initial calls, that's something that we'll always ask you, is the type of roof and the age. Going back to, I said panels will last 25, 30 plus years. And so you want to make sure that you have a roof that can last that long, or at least get 10 to 15 years of life out of it. So if we come to the house and we see that your shingles are lifted, there's a lot of moss, or you have cracked or missing shingles, or if it's even soft in some spots, we would advise you to replace your roof first. But if you have 10, 15, 20 years left of your roof, we can install on that, just knowing that when it's time to replace your roof, we will come back, take the equipment off, you replace your shingles with a contractor, and then we can put the same equipment back on for you at a cost. So.
Okay, great. And another question that I hear a lot from customers, you know, they might be contemplating putting in a hot tub or a pool at a later time, and they know that that's going to be a big draw on their electricity. What happens when there is a change in electricity and it does spike? Are we able to go back and add more panels later?
Yeah, in over 20 years, we've expanded a lot of systems. So the systems can be very modular. So we can add panels based on your needs. You know, a lot of the times we're seeing customers add an electric vehicle, and so they want to make up for that extra consumption that they're having. And so we'll work with you on that. We can see how big of a draw that's added to your electric bill and your usage, and size the system accordingly to that. And also, if you are anticipating, maybe you don't have an electric vehicle yet, but you think you'll have one in a few years, we can plan ahead for that and make it easier to expand down the road when you do get that electric vehicle.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Still no questions from our Facebook Live audience. But if you do see this video at a future time, feel free to ask the questions that you do have, and we will be sure to moderate them and get back to you. David will respond or someone else will respond. We're always here, always happy to answer any questions that are coming. And do you have any last words, David?
No, I appreciate everyone's time, and we're standing by to help people and answer a lot of questions on solar. So if you're interested, go to our website, thirdsunsolar.com, and we'll be able to help you out and guide you and educate you on how solar works in Ohio.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone. And join us next Thursday. We will be doing a solar battery Facebook Live again at this time, Thursday at 11. And we'll make a Facebook event, so it'll be easy to remember. We'll be here, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.